Hello.
Welcome, Chantel, to Two Big Egos in a Small Car. Our guest tonight is the blues musician, Chantel McGregor, born in Bradford. Chantel was a female guitar prodigy at the age of 14. Chantel has had an impact on the world of music, and in particular blues music. And that's what we're really going to look at tonight. A long-standing form of music, but always with progressive blues music celebrated in blues festivals.
I would say she was born playing the blues. As soon as she was born, Chantel could do the blues. It's as simple as that.
Is that how it feels, Chantel? I mean, I guess people are always going to say, why the blues? So let's say that for a start. Why the blues?
I don't really consider myself blues.
Fair point. Okay.
It's kind of more rock is what I do. There's a bit progressive. I guess any sort of emotional music or something that connects to people could be classed as blues because that's what the blues is. It's emotional music that people connect to and can associate with. But my genre is kind of a bit more wiggly and a bit more proggy and a bit more loud and noisy and rock.
Yeah, I can see that. It does it does transcend a description of just being blues music. Just a bit of a history to this. As I say, seen as a female guitar prodigy at 14. But of course, at that point, you're told, great voice, but girls don't play guitar like that. Well, you did play guitar like that. And when someone says that to you, girls don't play guitar like that, how did that make you feel?
At the time, because I mean, I was like 14. So I was kind of like, well, why not? Why can't girls play guitar like why? Yeah. And it was basically, a record company saying, well, men won't buy girls playing guitar like that because it's, it's not the norm and whatever. And I was just like, yeah, but I enjoy doing it. And I'm 14, I want to do something I enjoy. They were kind of like, go away and listen to Nick Drake and get an acoustic guitar and do strumming. And I'm like, yeah, but he's really miserable and he kills himself. Yes. And I'm 14. I want to enjoy it and be happy and do something I enjoy doing, not really depressive music that's, not what I do.
No.
I mean, I now actually have an appreciation for Nick Drake. Maybe as you get older, you get more jaded and miserable.
I think by the time people choose music for their funerals, Nick Drake seems to feature quite heavily. So maybe it's at that late stage in life.
Chantel, has the blues rock scene in Britain changed since you were 14? Because when I was growing up, I was into punk and it was all Susie Sue and Patti Smith and Polystyrene and the Slits. So I never understood that whole thing about women can't play this, like women can't do that. So has the blues scene in Britain sort of changed since you were young?
I don't necessarily know that the blues scene or just generally the music industry, full stop, has changed. I think, I think there are a lot more female-led bands and female musicians, and which is amazing. It's so brilliant. My bass player, he teaches at Leeds College of Music, or LCOM as it's now called. And he's kind of like, when I was there, I was the only female instrumentalist on my entire degree course.
Really?
Because there were no bass players, there were no female drummers, there were no female guitarists. I was the only one. There might be a few that dabbled in piano, but that's it. And it's like now there's female bass players, there's drummers, and there's so many more female musicians, which is just absolutely brilliant. I just find it really refreshing and kind of inspiring that females are going, yeah, we can do this and we can do this as good as men. And it's brilliant.
You as a young musician, 18 presumably when you went to Leeds College, maybe younger, I'm not sure, but you then became the first student in the college history to achieve 100% pass mark with no fewer than 18 distinctions. Now, I know you know this information, but that is one hell of a track record to then, not surprisingly, that course qualified as a first-class degree, interestingly, in popular music. And there you were, as you say, the only female guitarist there. So, I mean, that situation of obviously the talent was bursting out of you. How did people feel towards you at that time? Obviously, in terms of the tuition, they were hugely impressed with you. But how did you feel at college at that time?
I was the weirdo. I was the weirdo that didn't go out because I was running a band at that time. So, all my friends, or if you can call them friends, acquaintances at college, they were kind of, going out on a Friday night and getting drunk and all this. And I was like, well, I can't. I've got a gig. because I put a band together, with older musicians as well. So it was like, well, I'm going to be out gigging all weekend, so I can't go out and get drunk with you.
No.
And then it's like the actual studying and stuff like that. I was really obsessive about it because I was like, well, if I'm paying to be here, I'm going to get a first.
Yeah.
I think that's just the Yorkshire in me. I need my money's worth. Kind of like, well, if I've got to pay all this money for a degree, I'm going to get a first one. I'm not, I'm going to do all right at this.
Yeah.
So I just got a bit obsessive and worked really, really hard, and probably people thought I was a swot. But
at the time, musical influences, I know, it's always a question that gets asked of musicians, who were your influences? And maybe it's an unfair thing because actually you want to make your own mark with the music, but were there influences on you from a young age that have sort of maybe even stuck with you since then?
Yeah, I mean, I've always been into probably my dad's record collection, basically. So, I had a lot of influences like Fleetwood Mac and Zeppelin and Black Sabbath, that sort of thing. But I mean, I still love those bands. I still put Rumours on and go, this is such a great album. Perfect, amazing musicianship, and it's just iconic.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I had all those influences, but I also had the kind of more virtuoso guitar stuff that I was into at the time. I was into like a lot of Satriani and Vai. So yeah, it's, I just listen to everything. Now I just listen to lots of country because I enjoy it.
Now, that's interesting because, I mean, that's sort of seen as truthful music in a world that may not be full of truthful music, country music, direct lyrics, that storytelling songs, strong on melody. And you can see the appeal of country music on that basis. And maybe actually truly so with blues music as well. Again, music of incredible emotional honesty.
Yeah, I think it's back to that thing, like I said originally about blues. It's what connects with people. Can put on a country song or whatever, and they can go, well, I associate.
Graham, over to you. Maybe I recall Chantel's name really as you do from the blues bar in Harrogate, and over to you, Graham, on that thought.
Yeah, well, Chantel's been so brilliant for so long and so obviously gifted at playing reasonably regularly at the blues bar in Harrogate. If you haven't been to the blues bar, it's absolutely tiny. And if you have 60 people, it's like jam-packed, and you're right in the face of the audience. And Chantel be right there playing from a young age. Do you look back fondly on the blues bar, Chantel?
Yeah, I mean, we did a residency first Thursday of every month, I think it was. So I'm about to get rid of it. It was the best. We loved it. We had so many friends down there, and musicianship of other musicians that used to go in was brilliant.
You've also got a lot of character, Chantel. You're not like a sort of like precise, cool, aloof musician. And in a small venue, you have to have that sort of character to be popular and successful. You're a huge character as well as being talented. You're not like a sort of like quiet, shy, precise musician. In a small venue like the blues bar, you need to have character just to survive.
I think a musician, you've got character anyway, and I think all musicians generally are a bit off the wall, a bit daft. You've got to have a little bit of quirkiness and a little bit of that, because that's what feeds into your creativity. For me, that's how I feel about it.
Absolutely.
Or maybe I'm just a bit weird.
I don't think so.
And that side of performing, I really like it when performers break down. Well, theatre calls it the fourth wall or whatever, but I think it's good when musicians do that as well. So it isn't just about the playing. I think that sense of it being an all-round show, because you connect with an audience, maybe by telling a bit of background, a bit of stories within it, a bit of humor or whatever. All these things seems to me to add to the enjoyment of a concert.
Yeah, well, it makes it human. I mean, I go and watch loads of bands and stuff like that over the years, and you see. Because, I'll go to Buzz on a Tar, or even other bands that we've worked with and toured with, and it's the same between the songs every night. Same thing. Nothing, everything's so rehearsed, and it's like, well, it's not genuine, it's just scripted. Exactly. Whereas I'm like, I'll just say what comes into my head.
I mean that's interesting, isn't it? That distinction between something that's very much a manicured show where everything is scripted, and to the extent, I remember, nothing against Dolly Parton, a wonderful performer, but I do remember where I was in the front row and I could see basically there was a kind of monitor which would say, "Dolly, tell a story now. Dolly, make people laugh now, etc. And I thought that's just a bit too mechanical. Even if her stories are good value, it's too, that form of performing it could be anywhere, and without and for sure she's got bags of personality, but that sense of it all being so rehearsed within an inch of its life is not seemingly to me exactly what I want a concert to be.
No, it's not human. It's, you might as well just put YouTube on and watch the same thing over and over.
Yeah.
There's no spontaneity with it, and there's no human touch with it. And to me, I want to talk about what I've seen that day, or something we've driven past, or Lincoln in a bike race and couldn't get to the venue, and that's what people want to hear. Is something that's relevant to them and to their town.
Yeah. When you performed on two tours with Joe,
even Jimi Hendrix got bored with being a performing seal. He used to get fed up having to play the guitar with his teeth and set fire to it. And eventually, although he'd done that originally, he eventually got fed up with it and just wanted to play music.
Absolutely. Chantel, I was going to ask you about performing on two tours with Joe Bonamassa. And what that kind of experience that was, and whether you picked up anything from performing on tours with him. You did it twice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean he's a great musician, and it's quite a long time ago. Feels really old now.
Sorry, oops. For the part of the reason that we're interviewing you today is you've got an upcoming concert at Ripley Town Hall on the 20th of July, 8 p.m. that night. And you've got quite a long, likewise with the Blues Bar, but with Ripley Town Hall, it's at one of the venues that because I live near there, and I would see the signs on the road sometimes ahead of the gigs that would be there, and your name would come up quite often as playing there, Chantel. So how did that relationship with Ripley Town Hall come about?
Basically, first time I ever went there, I was 15, and he's one of my friends now, actually, as it turns out. But there was a guitarist called Ainsley Lister playing there, and we got in touch with him, and I ended up getting up and jamming with him when I was 15. And that was the first time I ever went to Ripley, and and it's kind of all come full circle because I'm really good friends with Ainsley now, and we've done a few shows together and stuff. But yeah, it's a beautiful venue, is Ripley Town Hall. It's so lovely, and Andy who runs it and everybody, they're just all such nice people. So it's it's always a good one that we enjoy doing.
It's always confusing that it's called Ripley Town Hall when it's in a village, but I can't remember what the reason for that was. Now, Chantel, last albums came out, I think 2021, the Shed Sessions Volume 1 and 2. 2024 now. Any news on any new album, perhaps, from you?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm writing. I've been writing for a while. Writing some more. I'm going to the studio to do some writing. In a week's time, I think that is. So that's going to be exciting. So yeah, it's in progress.
Where would which studio would you use? Is it here in Yorkshire, or do you have one at home, or how does it work for you?
No, so the producer who produced the two Shed Sessions albums and Buried Alive, Wayne, he has a really good studio somewhere near Nottingham. So I'm going to be popping down there and doing a bit of co-writing, and it's going to be good fun.
Yeah. I mean, when it comes to doing a new album, as I say, 3 years on from the last one, I mean, that's quite a time to kind of build up songs and thoughts about the world. And of course, everyone will throw in, well, since the last albums came out, we had the shadow of COVID, and performers had to sort of adapt to that and react to that. And I'm not saying that every subsequent album would reflect on that, but in terms of appreciation of an audience and performing to an audience, it seems to be common ground for performers that that was something that was enhanced by the COVID experience, and that joy of performing was not reactivated, but was re-emphasized, if you like, after that lull, after that hiatus for COVID.
Yeah, I think it made you appreciate getting out and playing live. Because obviously, most musicians were doing the whole live stream thing at home, which I did that. I did it for nearly 2 years, and it was nice. But you don't get that same feedback from an audience. You're getting literally some people typing on a thread, and you're reading it while you're playing a song, and you go, it's so kind of sterile and not, it's not human. It's not human contact that you know, and as a performer, that's what you thrive on. So to me, it just made me kind of appreciate audiences again.
I mean, that's interesting, that word sterile. That's exactly what it was. In the end, it did become exhaustingly, it seemed to suck the air, ultimately, Zoom performances. I mean, not intentionally that so, but that did seem to me, actually, after a while, that became the consequence of it, that it's just sucked the life out of things.
Yeah, well, it was just, you know, as humans, we crave human contact and appreciation and, you know, validation from other humans. So to have that, but it be on a screen, it's like, well, you know, you're still appreciated, and you've still got 200 people tuning into a live stream every Saturday, and you think, well, I feel really lucky that I had that, and that I had such a lovely, loyal following. But it's still not human contact, because you're reading words that people are typing while you're playing the song. Not, you know, you're not getting any applause at the end of it. It's you play a song and it's an empty room. And you know, that's, for me, that's the whole point of performing. You perform for other people. I don't perform for myself. I perform for other people watching. You know?
That was the distinction. I mean, in Zoom times, you were effectively in a room, perhaps on your own or whatever, and not, you know, having to connect through technology. Graham, a further question from you, if we may.
Well, when Chantel plays Ripley again, I mean, she's playing at a venue which is a great reputation, and she's playing at a venue that's full of the likes of the Animals and Steve Cropper and Georgie Fame and Dr. Feelgood. But she's been doing this for so long, even though she's still young. But she's like a veteran herself amongst all these veterans, but doesn't look anything like a veteran, obviously. But she's doing this gig as part of a lengthy tour. And I believe that, Chantel, you're actually driving the tour van now. Is that true?
Well, it was, because
rock
my dad
and roll.
broke his hip. My driving's definitely not rock and roll.
Oh, really?
A lot of rolling,
maybe. It's I had to start driving the van because Dad's always done it, but he broke his hip tackling a shoplifter in January. So it kind of enforced a total hip replacement. Yeah.
How's his recovery going?
Oh, he's fine. He's fine. He's more rock and roll than me.
Yeah. On a serious note with the concert, Chantel, it's going to be in aid of the Harrogate charity branch of Parkinson's UK. Perhaps tell us a little bit about why that's the case. I mean, if it's a personal story and it's awkward, don't. But on the other hand, the significance, if you like, of fundraising for Parkinson's, maybe have it as a wider question there.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a terrible, terrible disease, this Parkinson's. Absolutely. It's absolutely awful. Jamie, my boyfriend's best friend, he sadly has that. And, you know, it's just a tragic, horrible, horrible disease that just affects literally everything. So to me, it is a really important cause. And, you know, we're there to raise money that night for Parkinson's UK, and hopefully we can get a lot of money for them, and you know, it helps some people. That's all I want, is it just to help people. So fingers crossed.
Absolutely. Last thing to ask, you going into the recording studio, as you say, any instincts as to when the new album might emerge and might be out?
Soon, I hope, because I'm getting told off by everyone. Hopefully in the next few months, because Good. It's much needed, and a lot of people have been nagging me for a long time, so I need to
well,
get
we're joining that club,
it.
Chantel. Get that album made, come on.
I know.
Graham, last comment to you, if you would, and to thank Chantel for joining us this evening.
Well, it's great to have like a living rock legend from Yorkshire on the show. I think she's absolutely brilliant.
Oh, bless you. Thank you very much for having me.
Not at all. It's a pleasure. Yeah. So thank you, and enjoy playing Ripley. And of course, if you go onto Chantel's website, you will see loads of gigs coming up. Not just obviously here, Ripley being the nearest one for Yorkshire, but plenty of dates all over. And as I say, we look forward to the new album coming out as well. So thank you so much for your time today, Chantel. Really, really appreciate it. Thank you.
Oh, thank you very much.
So Graham, So in our remaining minutes, well, here we go. That's one hell of a sentence here. The extravagant past, the strange nature of 1970s albums with elaborate fold-out sleeves as typified by Isaac Hayes' 1971 double album, Black Moses.
That's right.
I loved those album sleeves in the early 70s.
But this one's bananas. This one's totally bananas.
But that's great. I think that's great.
There's other ones from the time. Yeah, I love them, but they're totally crazy. 1970.
Yeah.
Where it was a circular sleeve which had holes in the cover. And as you turned the circle round, you got different images of the band. That was like fairly outlandish. And the whole push and pull bit in front, where the drunken, posh, top-hatted figure, when you pushed and pulled the inner sleeve, it made his eyes and his mouth move and his tongue came out. I mean, what the hell? So I thought you couldn't top that till I bought Isaac Hayes' Black Moses, which double album, which came out in 1971. And he was a great artist. His most famous album was Hot Bird Soul, which came out in 1969. He's basically the Black Burt Bacharach. He makes symphonic music out of soul and rock. He did like 18-minute versions of like Walk On By and things like that. Absolutely magnificent. Obviously, he was famous for the Shaft soundtrack, which was a huge hit. But Black Moses was after the Shaft soundtrack. And when I bought it, I thought, couldn't find where they were. It's such an elaborate sleeve, even CD form. You cannot find where the blooming CDs are. So I opened up one bit, and it was a double sort of gatefold sleeve, fold out of him in a bare-chested pose with black shades on, a gold chain belt, and a gold chain necklace around him. And he looks like a sort of like proto-rapper, 25 years for his time. And I thought that was pretty impressive. But then I went to a different side of the gatefold fold-out bit. And when I took various bits out, I discovered it was him dressed as Moses. But when all the bits were taken out of the actual sleeve, it came out like a cross. So there's basically a six-piece fold-out in which he's standing in his sandals in the desert, dressed as a Black Moses. I mean,
that's phenomenal. And I wonder how much it would have cost to make. I mean, famously, when New Order had huge success with Blue Monday as a 12-inch single, it almost bankrupted the company, Factory Records, because they just weren't expecting to have to do so many sleeves. They weren't expecting to sell that many records. But can you imagine, though, with gatefold sleeves, the extra cost involved in that, and particularly one as ornate as the one you're saying?
Well, those are the days when record companies were rolling in money. Album sales were going up the whole time. And records were really important to like the cultural world. Like the biggest thing in the world, apart from films, was albums. So record companies were totally happy to spend the money. And by the 90s, that totally changed. They were very much not happy to spend that sort of money. But I was saying that I bought Autofiction by Suede recently, which was a special edition, a sort of like brown sleeve, which has a live album of all the album played live on their last tour, which is a magnificent tour. And it's got a 7-piece fold out. And it's almost like an updated version of Black Moses. And when you pull it out, it's all in black and white because see, Suede has to be quite cool. But when you pull it out into the 7 pieces, it's like a montage of them live on stage. And what it does is it gets across the sheer energy of that performance that they did in that last tour of Britain, which was a ferociously energetic tour. And it really works. It really captures the excitement of going to see them live. So I think there's an artistic purpose to these extravagant, somewhat indulgent fold-out sleeves, which is
Can you foresee, given the success now of vinyl? I mean, CDs have, I enjoy a cover on a CD, but one has to say that the 12-inch design was perfection when it first came out, and the revival of vinyl. I wonder whether that in turn might lead to more ornate album sleeves as well, because obviously they're that much more costly to buy an album on vinyl, and whether actually in turn more money might be thrown at the attractive prospect of album sleeves. I mean, I know, sorry to bring in Taylor Swift briefly, but is it 4 versions of the album that's available? I think ABBA's Voyage album had more voyages than have been to the moon for that version of the album cover. So there is some appreciation of album art.
I think the album is coming back.
I
think the album artwork's coming back as well. I think the success of vinyl and the fact that artists like Billie Eilish and Taylor Swift and Lana Del Rey take albums seriously, even in the days of streaming, they take it really seriously. So, for example, all those artists I've talked about, their most recent albums have had the lyrics and also a fold-out poster inside. which has a picture of them, which you fold out and gets bigger and bigger. So I think it's a sign that the album has come back, partly because of vinyl's revival, and major artists that get streamed billions of times are now taking albums seriously as well. So you're right. If this carries on, if vinyl sales keep on growing, you might see the return of 1970s levels of ridiculous sold out.
I mean, that would apply to Lana Del Rey's album artwork as well, which again, very significant for her. So again, you get more than one version of the album available, and sort of staggered release of vinyl. And it's not just a cynical tactic that some people will actually end up all buying every single version of it. It is actually, as I think we're suggesting, an appreciation of artwork, which was so hugely significant. One remembers, for example, Peter Blake obviously doing Sgt. Pepper, the album sleeve. And to have the preeminent pop artist, British pop artist at the time doing that is, if you a proper cultural icon, that album sleeve of the 1960s. It was that significant as a record.
Well, also, it wasn't just vanity that artists used to do serious album sleeves, sometimes at vast expense. It's also, if you read a book has like 300 pages or more, and you get the whole story. It's totally rounded, it's totally detailed. But an album is like 10 songs, 12 songs, and the artist can only get so much about themselves and their ideas across in the songs because they're limited formats. You know, you can't have too many words per song, otherwise it wouldn't be a song, unless you're Bob Dylan, obviously. So what the album sleeve does is it gives an extra insight into what that artist wants to portray themselves as, about their ideas, about their likes and dislikes, and about their artistic depths. And sleeves aren't just vanity, and they're not just advertising, they're not just marketing. Sleeves tell you more about the act who you've spent money on buying their music. So it does serve a purpose beyond merely marketing.
If we look at obviously the artwork that is connected with the Smiths and Morrissey, making the point that he was hugely influential in that. And so when it comes to, I think he wrote that rather long essay recently of saying, surely he's the controlling figure of, if you like, of the history of the Smiths. And he made the point about the artwork, which was all led by him. And one looks at that artwork, and not just obviously the album sleeves, but actually through all the single sleeves as well. In its own way, it's worthy of an exhibition, because it's capturing deliberately on his part largely English history. Although I think from memory there was an Elvis cover as well amongst them. But it reintroduced iconic figures on the album sleeves and single sleeves. And so suddenly you found yourself reading up about figures from the 60s and 50s that he was interested in. So it was not just about the Smiths themselves, but actually putting them, if you like, within the cultural history of this country. And as I say, reactivating interest in certain people who'd been forgotten in some way or underappreciated.
He also used the sleeves to bring gay iconography into the mainstream without actually saying that. So quite often it'd be either gay icons or gay figures themselves, even if at the time they weren't recognized as being gay. It was later revealed that they were gay. So Morrissey also used those wonderful photographs on the wonderful Smiths single sleeves and album sleeves to push ideas about society which were ahead of the curve, which weren't totally mainstream at that point. And Morrissey in the 80s was borderline genius, I think.
Yeah, we can. Do we know why he went to Cutthroat Lane, by the way? Have we heard as to why he went there?
Well, it certainly wasn't to cut his throat. Well, you know how suicidal some of his lyrics were. I mean, Girlfriend in a Coma is hardly the cheeriest lyrics, so you can imagine it would appeal to his dark sense humor.
Because he comes to Harrogate, doesn't he? He goes to he goes even to the bars and whatever. But I think the fact that he chose to go to Cutthroat Lane was so Morrissey, I thought.
Oh yeah, well, he would love that name because he's got such a dark sense of humor, and he's always done lyrics about death and suicide and meat is murder.
Graham, on an entirely different note, Rishi Sunak announcing the possibility of reintroducing a form of national service / community service at 18. Doesn't seem to necessarily involve anyone going and doing anything in the arts, which is perhaps
no surprise there.
Yes, we could end the discussion there. But from the point of view of what it could achieve, what could be the benefits of that? And I'm not thinking in terms of the military, which maybe there's a darker motive behind it, the lack of ability to entice young people into going to join the military. But are there benefits in making young people at the age of 18 appreciate their role in the community? I know this is not an arts subject directly, but in terms
You're not joking,
of people expressing themselves at 18, which I'd like to think that they would do it musically and creatively or through theatre or whatever. Can you see any merit in it?
It's a gimmick. Let's face it. This is a government that talks big and delivers little. And most of the times, even the last year before the election, most of the talk has resulted in virtually no action on the ground. I don't believe this will ever happen, even if they were to win the election. I think it's purely a headline-grabbing stunt after a very poor start to the Conservative campaign for the general election. I don't think they've got any intention doing it, and probably don't think they'll ever get the chance to do it. It's purely to get the fact it's been a bad week off the headlines of the weekend and get something which appeals to older people and people who are slightly more right-wing to think, ooh, that's a good idea.
Isn't that interesting that it is exactly that seems to be the tactic? I discussed it this morning in the church service in Markington, and it was interesting. Those in favour it were noticeably of the description that you've just said. But strangely enough, when chatting with Paul Harford, Reverend Paul Harford, our vicar, he'd been to a session on Monday that was looking at the changing of attitudes through the ages and what people were interested in from let's say they were born in the 30s and 40s, and the attitude from then, a baby boomers attitude, busters, and the millennials. And interestingly now, the latest age, the Gen X, is it Gen X rather than Gen Z? Which one is it?
I generally don't know, Charles. I think I'm a baby boomer. I think we're baby boomers, but I could be wrong.
We were baby boomers. But what's interesting is apparently amongst Gen X, Z, whatever, their interest, although the number one question they like to ask now is, who am I, apparently, but they are drawn to community and a sense of community, which goes against this idea that young people are just solipsistic and only out for themselves. And even if they're asking, who am I, it's actually how in who am I can I play my part in the community. So I'm just making that link between what Rishi Sunak is connecting with his idea of doing things for the community. Maybe that's
Charles.
I mean, it's interesting. Maybe he's seen this thing that, and apparently young people now have a sense of doing things in community.
There's a debate there to be had, but I don't think this is a legitimate idea, and it's got so many pitfalls and so many things that practically won't work. I just don't trust that this has any good intentions whatsoever, and I think it really is just a political gimmick.
Well, Rishi, if you're listening, and I'm sure you are a regular listener, that's the message from Graham Chalmers. Nothing but a political gimmick.
I remember we're all in this together and keep calm and carry on. And that was the presage of 14 years of austerity and British decline. So, watch what you do when you listen to the government's ideas and the government statements and the government slogans, because in reality, you're accidentally buying into something bad.
Graham, it's a chance briefly for a minute-long interruption to finish this evening.
I saw a great actor walking the streets of York this afternoon when I was in York. I was quite surprised. It's quite exciting.
Name that actor.
Well, he's done a lot of RSC and Shakespeare, but he's also been in all the programmes like Poirot. But he's also been a star in Wolf Hall and The Crown and Game of Thrones.
Fantastic. So you will have seen the actor Anton Lesser.
Well done. I did. I was quite excited.
This is because Anton Lesser is also from Endeavour, of course, and he is Chief Superintendent Bright from Endeavour.
Oh, that's right.
And he is in York tonight to do Red Sky at Sunrise, as we'll finish off tonight. And this is about Laurie Lee in words and music. And read my interview. It's both in the York Press
on Charles Hutch Press.
Charles Hutch Press website. Yeah,
fantastic website.
Well, Graham, let's just say thank you again to Chantel McGregor and say goodnight to each other.
You've been listening to the podcast Two Big Egos in a Small Car. Your hosts were Graham Chalmers and Charles Hutchinson. This was a Baltic sub-production.